Coming up next on the Wet Fly Swing podcast.
It was pitch black. I have floodlights on the loader and had to plow half a mile of road to get into it. And then I spent 45 minutes trying to lasso this moose, and he was about 7-8 feet down. Anyway, I did that for a while. Then it was minus 30 Celsius, and I had coveralls on, and I was hot, and I was, it was a lot of excitement. It was fun. And anyway, I had a heart attack.
That was Skeed Borkowski taking us into the Northern Lights. A Skeena steelhead connection, big bull trout, and Stillwater. Today on The Swing.
Welcome to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show, where you discover tips, tricks, and tools from the leading names in fly fishing today.
Hey, how you doing today? Thanks for stopping by the show. Before we get started here, if you get a chance, if you've been enjoying this episode, one way to support us is to share out an episode. Maybe it's this one, or maybe it's one from the past that you've loved. Take a look in that back catalog. We've got over 400 episodes now with some of the best guests and topics over the years, so we'd appreciate it. This is our chance to help another angler out there. Just talked to somebody today, actually Dave Snyder, and he noted that he was looking for an episode in North Carolina, which we're going to put together for him, and it's just a good opportunity to basically, if you get a chance to share the episode, it helps an angler, and for this example, Dave is also a new angler, so we're helping him out, getting him an episode, and it'll help us out at the same time. Thanks in advance if you had a chance to share the episode. Today's episode is sponsored by Chota Outdoor, legendary comfort and equipment you can trust. Chota insists on the finest materials and craftsmanship. You can assure you have the highest standards of quality. You'll feel in control of the elements in your Chota gear. Every product is solidly backed with a no-nonsense warranty against defects. Head over to wetflyswing.com/Chota right now. That's Chota, CHOTA, to support this podcast and the Chota Outdoor family right now. Today's episode is sponsored by Togen's Fly Shop, who provides superior quality products at an affordable price. An amazing resource for fly tying materials, tools, and fishing accessories. Since 2005, Togen's has been over-delivering on price, service, and passion. And now you can check out that Togen's buzz for yourself. Right now, you can head over to wetflyswing.com/Togens to get started. That's TOGENS. You support this podcast by clicking through that link to Togen's online. Skeed Borkowski is here today to take us into the Northern Lights Lodge and the wilderness of northern Canada, actually northern British Columbia. We discover what it takes to catch bull trout on the fly, the relation of these big rainbows to Skeena steelhead. There's a connection. These are essentially kind of like cousins. These fish were connected to Skeena steelhead at a point in the past, and now use basically the lakes up in this area as their ocean. So it's pretty interesting to hear some of the story there. And we also talk about these Stillwater areas, which we're going to be digging into more as we get going this year. We are working on potentially putting together a cool trip and maybe a school up to this part of the woods as well. So I'm excited to share this one with you. Lots of good stuff. Skeed has the greatest name out there, and he is the most interesting man in northern Canada. So without further ado, here we go. Skeed Borkowski from nllodge.com. How you doing, Skeed?
Doing well, thank you.
Good.
It's a nice wintry day on the Great White North here, so.
Yeah. I'm excited to dig into this. We recently we did a podcast with Derek Bird, who noted we were kind of cruising around BC and talking about different places, and he noted some of the stuff you have going on up there. So I started with the name. The name is such a cool name. I kind of, but then you also have the bull trout up there. So we're going to talk about bull trout today. But yeah, how are things going? Is it pretty cool up there this time of year?
We're hovering right around 15, 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. And always lots to do around here. I get out and I plow snow for neighbors and then try to slip away, and I get a lot of free muffins and cookies and stuff like that. So
perfect.
Works well.
What's the Northern Lights Lodge up there? Maybe describe, just take us to where you are so people that aren't familiar. You're up in British Columbia, but how far up are you?
We're approximately 400 miles northeast of Vancouver, Vancouver, BC. And normally folks fly into Williams Lake. Our guests fly to Williams Lake from all over the States. And we pick them up at Williams Lake, and it's about a 1 hour drive out to the lodge. And our lodge is situated on Quesnel Lake, which is it's actually a wilderness lake. There are a few cabins up and down the lake, but very little road access. And the lake is 72 miles to the end of the east arm and about 55 miles to the end of the north arm. And it is the deepest freshwater fjord in the world.
Wow.
It's in excess of 2,200 feet deep. So it's a very unique place.
The lake is 2,200 feet deep?
Yes, and the elevation of the lake is 2,267. So it's quite likely below sea level on the east arm.
Wow. Okay. So, and what are people coming up to the lodge? What are they coming to fish for?
They're primarily rainbow and bull trout. And bull trout is something that we like to focus on. The Fish and Wildlife had done a lot of research on this lake, and it was legislated as a wilderness lake, probably 40 years ago. So there's no new developments on the lake. In September, when we fished different tributaries, incoming and outgoing, outflows, and it's big water, but it's a very unique place. Blows my mind every fall when I get off it. I just give me one more year here.
Well, this is really interesting because I love. It's already sounding really like this, even more than I was expecting on the place. But so you have rainbows, you got bull trout, you got people coming in, flying into Williams Lake, and then they're driving. Are people able to, like, could the public get to this place, or is this something that's kind of hard for people to get to?
It's rather difficult. There are a few locals, but there's a lot of equipment required. Like we need a cabin cruiser we have two that we will take 4 anglers and 2 guides and head up the lake and then to different tributaries where we'll have a jet boat sitting. We transfer to a jet boat and then go up different tributaries. We have 2 large watersheds that we fish. One is almost as large as the Quesnel. The lake is smaller, but the tributaries are much larger. And the one we had 22 miles up this wilderness river in a jet, and it's just incredible. Oh. Grizzlies and moose and
wow.
It's wild. My best one day is 19 different grizzlies.
Jeez. Are you guys are you fishing the lake and the rivers up there?
No. We get the odd person who wants to do a day on the lake, and we have one guide that specializes in that. But it's mainly we use the lake for transportation.
Oh, I see.
And lake and cruisers.
Yeah.
And then transfer to jet boats.
Gotcha. So the lake.
But it's it's a very narrow lake. It's a fjord. It's glacial carved on a fault line, and it's September, and we head up. We'll head up in the morning and come back, and we come back to the lodge in the evening for dinner and the night. And it's rare to see another boat on like 50, 60 miles of river.
Wow.
Or a lake.
Of a lake. And on that lake, I'm just trying to clarify. So on the lake, so fishing is just not. This isn't like the Kamloops, like big rainbows that are in the lake, and you could fish for them like they do down south.
Oh yeah. No, it's a unique strain of rainbow that have been protected for a number of years. There's a slot limit. We can't keep anything over 24 inch, and they actually some biologists say they're a landlocked steelhead because they have the same lifespan or life cycle as a steelhead. They don't spawn until they're 7 to 8 years old, and they live to be 12 to 14. My uncle used to catch them.
Yep. Gotcha. What do you guys get for as far as the lake? And when you're fishing the lake, do you guys, I mean, why don't you guys fish the lake more? Why are you fishing the rivers?
Well, because fly fishing, and it's a deep lake. Summertime, the rainbow will go down to about 80 feet, 70 feet. It is a cold lake, but it's also, we have a huge population of lake trout as well in there, as well as burbot, which is a freshwater ling. We have kokanee in there, and that's why the rainbow gets so large. Once they get off the bugs, they get onto the kokanee. And we have a large kokanee population in the lake.
Yeah.
And it makes for big trout. We have, my uncle used to catch rainbow over 30 pounds. So they're very large.
So you can. So if you brought up, say, we have, Phil Roy. I'm not sure if you know Phil, but he's kind of the Stillwater guru, our guy that we go to.
Oh,
I wonder
sure
if you
is.
brought somebody like that to your lake. Would Phil be able to catch some fish on your lake?
Well, if you had a good guide like myself, yes. No.
That's awesome.
No, Phil is the lake guru.
Yeah.
And Curtis has spoken with Phil a few times, and that's our lead guide, our manager here. They were hooking up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Phil would have a great time here.
That's cool. Right. Well, this is great because this is why the podcasting is one of the reasons I love it so much is that, I went in wasn't even really thinking about the lake. I was thinking more about, the river fishing. But I mean, there's a whole opportunity here potentially to do some lake fishing, do some stuff for some cool species. But let's keep it on. I want to take you back really quick because we got a lot going on here, but I don't want to miss how you got into this place because the Northern Lights Lodge, first of all, that's another great name. I love that. We were up in Alaska this summer and saw the Northern Lights on a night. We were expecting to be raining the whole trip. And we had a break in the weather one night and it just, Northern Lights were out, right? So it's, that's an amazing thing. How did you take us back first? How did you get into fly fishing? And then talk about how the Northern Lights Lodge came to be.
Well, Northern Lights Lodge was established in 1942. And it was built by 5 brothers from Vancouver, and they built this as a family retreat. They were building metal cabinetry for Liberty ships in Vancouver, and this was a 4-day drive from Vancouver. And they built this as a family retreat because of an expected invasion by the Japanese, who were just off the coast. This was right in the middle of the war years. And so they built the place, and then it eventually turned into recreation kind of an area, but still very, I still have an old brochure where it was something like $7 a night to go fishing. And that's meals, everything included.
Wow.
I think they even had a fly out for it too. So.
Jeez.
But Sharon and I moved here to spend 1 year to the small town, and then I was going back to college and get into teaching or something like that to get a degree. And we came here to make the big bucks in logging, and they were, which it was back then. And what happened was college is still on hold. That was 54 years ago. So we're, but it's just been wonderful. So
Nice.
We've done a lot of different things. I started out with a chainsaw falling trees, and then we ended up with our own logging company, and then we had built a cedar mill, and then we went gold mining for 10 years with large equipment. They were just my partner and myself and our wives and our 2 sons. And we did that for 10 years, and that's basically how we bought the lodge. Yeah, and that was 27, almost 28 years ago now. But we just bought it as an investment.
Wow.
It's just such a beautiful piece of property, 2,200 feet of waterfront here. And so when we purchased the place, we thought we'd just flip it in a few years or whatever and keep a piece of the lakefront. But lo and behold, here we are. We had a fellow from Colorado that was a partner, and he introduced us to the blue quill angler, and from Evergreen. And I know Pat's been on your show, but I spoke with Pat just the other day, and he's probably been here 6 to 8 times with a group. He hosted groups here, and same with Jim Cannon, the original owner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're a pretty tight-knit group for a lot of years there. And so I think Pat's coming back again next year. He's quite booked up this year, but he'll put together a group with us next year. So look forward to that.
Man, this is cool. This is so cool because, yeah, I mean, obviously the Blue Quill Angler is a big shop. They got a bunch going on, but you have a destination, obviously a location, and do you get a lot of the groups like the hosted trip? Is it more that, or do you guys get more of the kind of a few, kind of couple people coming up?
We have, we do. Jim McLennan is another fellow that with Fly Fusion, and he and Linda have hosted a trip with us for, I think they've done 5 consecutive years with us here, with bringing 10 to 12 people for a trip, and I think they'll do it July or August this year as well. But Jim's a great guy.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear more. I know Derek mentioned Jim, and we've got a good connection to BC. I'm just south of you down in the States, so I've been up there a number of times, and it's kind of like my it's like my brother from another mother sort of thing, right? You guys are just up north, and you got such good water. So I'm excited to do more trips, as we keep moving forward with the show. But so this is good. Well, we got a lot of ways we can go here. You got this lodge going, and you purchased it. It sounds like for an investment, but it turned around, and now it's almost 30 years later. You've got this program going, which sounds amazing. What is, when you think about the fishing, so when people come up, let's just take it to Pat. So Pat's coming up with a group. What are those people excited about? Like, what are they fired up to go hit? What's the fishery they're really looking for?
I think when they arrive, they can't believe how quiet things are here. Like, it's an end of the road town, so we don't get the traffic through here. We don't get the touristy thing. And when we go out on the water, I find that I tell our guides, and we talk. We have just the best in the world. These guys are so over the top. Everyone's laughing. Everyone's having just a fantastic time. But what we all notice, and I tell them, don't get on their backs. They're if they're missing a, and no one does, because when you're watching someone fish here, you notice they miss quite a few hits, and the reason is they're looking around. They can't believe where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's just so quiet, and it's
right.
Just look around and go, good job, God.
Yeah, good job, God. That's a good way to put it. So you guys are. What does that look like when you look around there? What is the scenery if they're sitting there fishing for bull trout? What are you seeing? Is it more than just a forest?
It's this area is a interior rainforest. And all the years, with the fires and everything, you look on the news and BC's burning up. Well, our little community was not even put on notice when this is going on. It's a cedar hemlock forest. And when it's as you're driving through the province or whatever, and we have our semi-arid places and everything is dry, as soon as you get into this zone, everything is green. And it's incredible. We get the odd shower and whatever, but things it sustains life here. There's with the amount of water that's in these two watersheds, and they're, I don't know how many million square miles or acres they are, but they're huge. It goes right into Wells Gray Park and into the Bowen Park. Everything is connected right to the Rockies. And
Oh, right. Yeah. So you're in the upper part of the Rockies, like way north Rockies. Gotcha.
and it's wild country. I mean,
Yeah, you got it all. And in the fishing, so let's dig into that a little bit. As far as, I was kind of thinking of bull trout here. I mean, we obviously you've got other species, but if we were thinking bull trout, or maybe just doing this trip, we want to come up. I'm guessing sometime after the freeze thaws out down there. When does the season start? When's your first guest coming out there?
you mean for bulls?
Yeah, well, for anything, bulls, rainbows. What are your first guests? Yeah, when do you guys open up the season? Are you open throughout the whole winter?
No. We open up mid-May with Stillwater, and we have probably around 40 Stillwater lakes, small fly fishing lakes within about a 20-mile radius of the lodge. And quite a few of these are stocked with with our horsefly strain, which are the most aggressive. And some of these lakes will go in, and the rainbow, you can hook up with a rainbow 30-inch, 30 plus.
Wow.
We had Brendan Morrison from Real West Coast was up last June, and they did 2 episodes on us, and it just blew his mind. The size of these fish. I think we had 4 anglers, and must have been around 100 rainbow that were over 20-inch.
Wow.
Between the 4 anglers. Yeah, it gets crazy. You get into the water boatman hatch and then traveling sedge, but this was all on dries, and I think we had him on 4 different lakes, and we even had one lake where we go after. It's in the wilderness. It's about an hour's drive from the lodge, and strictly Lakers in there, and we went after them with chironomids in about 6 feet of water, and it's they're not huge, but 24, 28-inch, and to catch Lakers on a fly rod is something else. So it's pretty cool.
This is great. Yeah, lake trout would be fun, and so you start in mid-May, and are people typically, when they come up there, are your guests coming up and fishing some of those? They're doing a little bit of the Stillwater and the rivers, or talk about that. Somebody comes up for a week, 6 days, say, what's that week look like when they get in? Do they come in on like a Saturday and stay for the week?
We're Stillwater only until late June. And because of water levels, we're spring runoff, just going, just water's receding, and it's given us more real estate. And then we turn to the jet boats for transportation, and we jet boat and drift. But we'll do a couple of the rivers around here that are within half an hour of the lodge. From 5 minutes to half an hour, whether drifting or jet boating. But we'll get into some bulls in the summer. If you're targeting bulls, we know where the holes are, where they're holding up, until our salmon come through, which is late August. We start getting sockeye and king run.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they... and then we fish egg patterns and streamers, behind the spawning salmon, and we'll do 4 different rivers.
This is cool. So you have salmon too. This is amazing. What's the town? It's I guess we could kind of look up. I'm just kind of getting my perspective because I wasn't thinking about salmon, like where they're coming from. So where are we at? Give us the geography. What's the town, like the nearest town?
The nearest town to us is Williams Lake. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. So Williamstown is the town. There's not any other closer towns than Williams Lake?
No. We have our little community of Likely, which is 250 people, roughly.
Oh, yeah, Likely. That's right.
Yeah. And it's, that's spread over about 6 miles. So a lot of waterfront homes, that type thing.
Gotcha. So you're on the Quesnel, like you mentioned. So the Quesnel goes into, which flows. I'm just trying to get my beat. So where are those salmon? How are the salmon getting up? Where are they coming from? Like where are they flowing into the ocean?
The Quesnel River drains Quesnel Lake, and I think it's about 55 or 60 miles to the city of Quesnel, which is like 25,000 people.
Oh.
And that's where it hits the Fraser River, which goes down to Vancouver.
Wow.
And that's where our salmon come up that run. Yeah, 550 miles to some of these tributaries on the Quesnel Lake. That's how far they've come.
This is amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
You're in the Fraser. I didn't even realize you guys were in the Fraser system.
Long way to go for a date.
That's right. But that's cool. I mean, that's you guys are, so you've got salmon in the mix too. You've got the lakes, you got the bull trout. I mean, it sounds like you have everything out there. What are we missing?
I think with the salmon, we don't target the salmon for fishing, and they're not open for a fishery. But what they are is they're the attractor pattern, and when they come through the system, they pull the big bow and bull trout up the different tributaries, and they just gorge themselves on the eggs, and it's so fun to watch when when salmon first come up. They're staging for a couple of weeks, and the rainbow are there, and you're catching rainbow. They have a nice length to them, but they look like a lake fish. And you give them 2 weeks, and you're catching these fish with pot bellies on them. They're just gorging themselves. It's quite incredible.
Today's episode is sponsored by Zag.Fish, who was founded with the idea of finding ethical solutions to fly tying products and services. They've done just that by creating jobs for marginalized people, both in the U.S. and abroad. They've got everything covered. We've had a recent episode on with John Grosta, who talked about some of the great products they have with the fishing he does in Florida. With the Fairflies brushes. They've got the 5D brushes and their fly fur, which is pretty amazing. Tons of people are loving this stuff for its durability and the speed that allows you to tie flies. John talked about that on the podcast, and he said that just basically it's going to add on at least 15 to 20 minutes to each fly you tie if you're not using these brushes. Zag also has Wasatch custom angling tools in their satchel with over 50 custom heirloom tools that go along with your materials. So they are a true do-it-yourself company, and you got to check out Zag.Fish right now. If you want to, you can head over to wetflyswing.com/Zag, and you can get 20% off your first order by clicking through that link, and let them know you heard of them through this podcast, and you'll get that 20% discount right now. That's wetflyswing.com/Zag, Z-A-G. Okay, back to the show. Well, let's just dig into a little bit on the bull trout, because I think that is one species. We could talk about the other fish as well, but let's focus on the bull trout for a little bit here. And if we take it into the river, so it sounds like, talk about that. So when does the bull trout, remind us again when that gets started up there?
I think prime for bull trout would be all of September into mid-October. They're a little more stubborn near the end of the month, end of September. They're going into their spawning stage. But if you put it on their nose, and you're watching the whole take. You're watching these monster fish. My best, I had 2 guys from Colorado a number of years ago, probably a dozen years ago, and we're 5 minutes from the lodge, and I anchored the jet boat and catch a nice rainbow, 16 plus, and then I'm watching this. What I'm thinking is the Chinook, and it's ramming these other Chinook, and I know I looked at the fins, and it's a bully. And so we bugged it enough, got it, and took 45 minutes to get it in, and that was on a 6-weight, 0x tippet, 6-weight, and I managed to get into a big back eddy, and I just rode around for 45 minutes. We kept up to him, and anyway, he measured out at 42 inches, so that would have been about, I'm thinking, 25, 28 pounds.
And this is a bull trout?
That was a bully, yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, no, it was a brute. That absolutely my best. I have others that we have a Tate that he's our bull trout guy as well, and he has one that he caught a couple times last year and call him Scarface. And this guy does have scars, and I think he was about 38.
Wow.
38 inch.
Wow, this is nuts. So bull trout? I mean, yeah, they get big. So what is the average? Let's just say somebody's up there for a week. There's probably some small ones, some bigger ones. What's the average that you're going to get into?
Oh, probably it'd be 24 plus, 24 inch plus.
Yeah, right on.
On bulls, yeah.
On bulls. So what does that look like when you go? So you're talking about September, October, when you get in there. Take us to that. So you got the sleds going up the rivers. You drop in on one of the rivers, and then you just do some hiking up to near the confluence and start fishing.
We'll actually go up as far as we can, and up the different rivers, and then when we come down the river, we're just basically walking the sleds down, and we'll have 2 guides and 4 anglers, and we just stay. I shouldn't say close, but we stay fairly close, within 100 yards of each other, or of the whole group, and that way there's so much water to fish, and it's fresh water, but we like to keep people close. A lot of grizzly there. They're never had an issue with them. They're not like like some places in Alaska where you see a lot of bears and whatever, but they're used to people in Alaska. They're not used to people here, so they're quite shy. So they'll grab the fish, and they'll also nocturnal if we're on the water, they'll just pull back and then feed at night.
Gotcha. And on the fishing, so are you fishing out of the boat or on the bank or both? Are you swinging the flies?
We're all wade fishing the whole time. If we have someone that has medical issues or just not able to get around like they used to, and I'm familiar with that now.
Yep.
We'll fish them out of a boat, but 95% of the folks are out there. But the guys that fish out of the boat, they really appreciate the opportunity to be able to still go fishing, and that's very cool. And we have our guides are really looking after those folks, and I'm thinking we're probably around a 90% repeat clientele. Our longest are family from Scottsdale, and with the exception of 2020, which is a year I'm not counting either, this would have been 23 consecutive years that they've been to the lodge. And out of those, they've probably been here 35 times. Like they've had double trips many years. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool. So you're up there with these bull trout. Some of them can get up to, like you said, up to 40 inches. When you're out there, talk about the fishing. So you got one guy with 2 guys. Are they swinging flies like big streamers? What's that look like?
With the bulls, well, September we're usually swinging egg patterns and streamers. And the bulls will take an egg off the bat, but a nice streamer, because they're very aggressive in the water. Like often, because you get whitefish on feeding on eggs as well that come up into the system to do that, and a lot of times you'll nail a 12-inch whitefish or even 16, 18-inch rainbow.
Oh, wow.
And there'll be a couple bulls come out from under a log and just nail that thing. They're very aggressive. Yeah. So you're watching this action, and they'll hang on until they get close enough, and then they'll let go. But
that's right, because they're aggressive predators, basically, the bull trout.
Oh, they are, yeah. They don't understand the catch and release concept.
Right. Gosh, so September, so you got the eggs, you got the salmon in, so it sounds like the bull trout are eating eggs as well, but they're also predators, so they're eating fish. Is there a time of year that you would go where, you would just be swinging like fish, kind of streamers, and you wouldn't have as much of the eggs? Or is there a better time to get the streamer stuff on, or is it all good?
Oh, mid-July and August for the bullies. Yeah. We have, especially we have one glacial river that a little tough access, but we run a drift boat down there, and we just do the one. It's about about an 8-mile drift, 9 mile drift.
Oh man, that sounds great. What's the just curious, because I always love, we did a boat season in here. What's the drift boat you have there? What's the brand?
Oh, I have Hyde, have an Air, and a Clackacraft.
Oh yeah, you got it all. Cool. So you got some cool boats there. And so what you're saying is July, earlier before the salmon get there, it sounds like maybe is the time to, if you wanted to just get streamers. But once salmon get there and all the eggs, are the bull trout actually eating lots of eggs as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're right into that.
Yeah, they're eating eggs. So what would if somebody wanted to come up and just said that they really want to catch, a bull trout, big bull trout on the swing, does it matter? Is that, again, going back to September? Is there a specific time you'd say would be better or worse?
I would say if that's their target fish, I would, September for sure.
September.
Pretty much all of September.
All September. Okay. And the weather then is pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
Because you're
and October. And October.
In October.
Yeah.
Until the snow comes, right? Until it starts getting where you can't fish because of the snow.
Yeah. Like even now, there's a place that that we have here that the guides go down, and Curtis and Tate, and they were hitting it last winter pretty almost every day, and catching these monster bullies. I can send you some pictures.
Yeah, you should. If you can, send me those photos. I'll put them in the show notes for this episode so people can take a look. And get a look at something, especially that one. If you have one of those large bull trout, I don't know if you have that 42-incher, but anything large, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd have some of Tate's there and they're you're sliding a boat down the snow for the launch, and then the takeout is a little rough, but anyway, the boys are doing that. They're young enough.
Gotcha. How big are these on the rivers? It sounds like you have lots of different rivers. Are there lots of really small stuff, big rivers? What's like on average, like what size of rivers are you fishing here?
Mostly, fairly big water. We have some streams that would go, I don't know, maybe the smaller ones would be 75 feet wide, 100 feet wide.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And then
so you got some bigger rivers too.
Oh yeah, and our bigger ones are 100 yards wide, and then they split off, with some back channels, that kind of thing. But it's all cold water. We don't have an issue with temperatures on our bigger water. The outflow, Quesnel Lake. and there's a couple on the inflow that are glacial as well.
Oh, right. So they're nice and cool.
And we've hit those after a big run. I'm hoping to get up there this year or in 23 because we had a very large sockeye run. I think it was like 800,000 that came into the system, and up the different tributaries, and there were so many sockeye that were spawning that they kind of displaced the rainbow. And this is the dominant year. This 22 was. But a year following this, if we don't get a big flush in the spring with a runoff, like if it's just a normal steady one, we don't get 80-degree weather in May where it's a big flush, the rainbow will stay in. I've had the best dry fly fishing I've ever experienced on a couple of these rivers in late July, all of August until the salmon come up. And you're swinging big flies like number 2, 4, stone fly, that type of thing, or Chernobyls.
Yeah.
And 0x tippet with a dry. And it's not often you get away with that kind of stuff, but they're not leader shy. They're just hungry fish and great shape. But we get them, over 30 inches on a dry.
Gotcha. Okay. So you got that going too with the dry fly action. And you have some big rivers. Are guys fishing up there? Are they using kind of like swing with spay rods, longer stuff? Or what's your rod? What's your gear setup look like for bull trout?
We get a number of guys that on a couple of the rivers where a spay is kind of good, to be able to get to the other side sometimes. But I tell everyone that let's get these guys that are about 2 feet offshore on this side first, then we'll pay attention to the other side. But a lot of we have some great spay rod. Curtis is a spay guy and very good at it. Great tutor as well. So
nice. So you have some opportunity. It sounds like there's a lot of opportunity. You've got you got the spay. You got what's your rod typically for? I think you said is like 9 foot 6 weight. Is that what you'd recommend just for your normal trout or rod for these bull trout?
Yeah, I think especially September. Let's go to a 6.2 and 8, and like July, August, there's more water. There's more of a flow, so you can get away with the 5 because there's more real estate to be able to handle these the fish in, and you're not worried about them wrapping, on a log or rocks or whatever. It's a little more control with the water. Gotcha.
All right, so 6, 7, 8 weight somewhere in there, just a good rod. And then what is are you out there? It sounds like you've got your team of guides. Do you still get out there, and have you been doing some guiding over the years, or talk about that? What you've been doing there yourself personally.
Oh yeah, for years. Yeah, I was doing the jet boat runs, and when split off, we'd have 2 going at the same time. And then I love drifting. I love drifting our big river here. And I had a little bit of an adventure a year ago. I had a neighbor called me that a moose had fallen through his well. So I took my big loader up to get this, help him get this moose out. He's 92. And so I went up, and it was pitch black. I have floodlights on the loader and had to plow half a mile of road to get into it. And then I spent 45 minutes trying to lasso this moose, and he'd do a circle in the well, and when he'd come around, I think 4 or 5 times, he tried to get me with his front hooves, and I'd just back off behind the bucket of my loader. And I was trying to get him ticked off enough at me that maybe he could hook a hind leg and get himself out. But he was about 7, 8 feet down, and anyway, I did that for a while. Then it was minus 30 Celsius,
Jeez.
and I had coveralls on, and I was hot, and I was, it was a lot of excitement. It was fun, and anyway, I had a heart attack,
Oh, whoa.
and yeah, so I got myself home, and they wanted to take me to the paramedics, but I wanted to see Sharon just in case it was checkout time. And anyway, I made it, ambulance to Williams Lake, and then next morning, I almost checked out in Williams Lake, and next morning they flew me to Kelowna, BC, where they had a very good cardio ward, and they threw me on the table there and put a stent in, and
There you go.
I'm doing well again.
Yeah,
So.
I've actually heard, and I'm not sure, whether it's to do with some of the, the COVID or whatever, but I've had a number of people that have had heart attacks, and not just older people. We had a guy, Joe Jackson, who told a story. He's like probably in his 30s, I think, and he just had a heart attack, and so yeah, it's crazy because obviously, but it sounds like you've recovered. Do you feeling good? Do you feel better than you felt before? Did you feel, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you don't even notice you feel like crap, right?
Yeah, my deal was that when we came back from Phoenix or from Scottsdale in 2020, I just I have this workaholic thing going on, and I didn't take a day off for 2 years, and it caught me. And when they put me on the table, like my work weight was 165, 170. I'm 5'9", and when they put me on the table, I was 145. So I had lost all that weight from just going flat out and not eating. But anyway, that's just life, and it wasn't COVID related.
Not COVID. That's good. That's good to hear. Well, I mean, it sounds like the picture I'm getting is that you love this area. Sounds amazing, and you just love it so much. You kind of probably doesn't even feel like work to you, I'm guessing.
Oh, exactly. And it's such a magical place. You go in that lodge, and just the laughter. I look around that room, and I'll see like 7, 8 conversations going on, and it's just all laugh. Doesn't matter what the fishing was like. It's we're so blessed to have these people come back year after year after year. It's pretty special, and we've lost a lot.
Yeah. Do you guys at the lodge? So a typical day would be get up early in the morning, grab your guide, get on the boat, or I guess probably get some breakfast, head on the boat. Are you guys out there typically all day long and then come back at the end of the day?
That's right. Yes, we'll typically have breakfast at 7, and then depart at 8, and we have everyone back usually by 6 p.m. Dinner at 7. Happy hour and dinner, and people usually crash around 9 o'clock. But yeah, it's very cool.
So again, back to the boat. So when you're fishing out there, is it pretty as simple as we've talked about? Literally, you get out there and you just swing in some flies, maybe an egg-sucking leech, and just whatever you catch, and you got a good chance to catch a bull trout? Or talk about that a little more in the fishing. Is there anything specific somebody would need to know before they, headed up to your lodge to go fishing?
Well, July and August, we're primarily, as well as June, it's with the Stillwaters, but we're probably 90% dry.
Oh, okay.
And we're swinging large dries. We have, great caddis, stonefly hatches, and mayfly and traveling sedge on the lakes. But if someone wants to target the bulls, like when we're on the rivers, there are some deeper pools and whatever, and we'll head right for those, and we have somebody that wants to hook up with a bull. So
yeah, for me, and everybody's got their own thing, but I would be coming up thinking, wow, it'd be cool to get a nice bull trout on, swinging right with the spey or something like that. But then it'd also be cool to catch some big rainbows or eat some rainbows on the, and all those fish on the surface, right? So it's kind of hard, right? But it sounds like you probably, anytime you choose in the summer between, May when you start and you wrap it up, right? And kind of October, that sort of thing.
Mid-October. Yeah.
Mid-October. Okay. So that seems to be the challenge. Yeah. It seems like you can probably go any month there and probably have a good time. Do you find runs fluctuating at all? Do you ever find rivers blow out? Are there any issues there? Any of that stuff?
We have one that's a little more sensitive to heat and like in the spring, mainly June, where if you get a few days of rain, it can blow out. But we have 4 others that we can retreat to that never blow out.
Yeah.
They just never do. So.
The CRC system from Trxstle provides secure and convenient storage for your fully rigged fly rods with unsurpassed gear protection. Every CRC system comes with secure mounting clamps, padding in the reel compartment, and their proprietary suspended rod liners. Leave your gear on your vehicle full time or quickly take the CRC system down and telescope it into carry mode in just a few minutes with the fastest and easiest to use mounting system on the market. From the very first time I connected with John, I knew this was going to be a great fit for the podcast. Making it easier and faster to get on the water is a huge part for me, especially in the ever crazy and increasingly busy world. Not only are these rods secure for me and the family, but they are always rigged and ready to go. You cannot beat that. Equipped with their patented protective no-snag reel-up design, this is not your average rod carrier. Carrying your rods with reels facing up means more protection for your guides, blink, reel seat, and also allows for a better fit if you have a hatchback. Too much good stuff here for me to cover it all, so I'm going to have to send you over to Trxstle and check it out for yourself. You can go there right now. Just take a look at wetflyswing.com/Trxstle, and you can get started right now. That's Trxstle, Trxstle. You support this podcast by clicking over through that link to check out what John and the Trxstle crew have going right now. Okay, back to the show. Well, what else do you, if somebody, let's just say I'm, planning to, we're coming up there, next summer, we're thinking about these bull trout, maybe we're, thinking coming in September or something like that. What are you telling, me and the other folks coming in before they get there? What's the checklist look like?
As far as prepping, as what to bring or?
Yeah. Well, if you're prepping, just say for the fishing stuff. So you got the rod. It sounds like you just bring 6, 7, 8 weight, something like that. Fly lines. Is it just a dry fly thing, or do you want to have some sinking lines out there? And then what if somebody did want to fish Stillwater? It sounds like that's an opportunity. Could somebody say, "Hey, I want to go for bull trout streams for 4 days and fish Stillwater for 2 days"? Could they do that?
Oh yeah. Right until first week of July, and then the small lakes, they warm up, so the fish are going down, and it's a little tougher fishing. So, yeah, that's our Stillwater program.
Gotcha. So that's an early. You need to get in there and fish them before they warm up, because all the fish are either heading to the deeper part of the lakes or they're just going to the big lake and going deep.
Right.
Yeah.
They're
I see.
Like Quesnel Lake here is. There are places we can do and go and fish tributaries, that type thing, just at the deltas. But for more action, there's a lot of traveling with that, and for more action, we just basically step out of our door, and we can be on a river here in minutes.
Gotcha.
Whether for a drift or a jet boat. So
yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds pretty easy. It sounds like it's almost too, I guess, too good to be true, right? Because you got this, you fly into Williams Lake, you drive over an hour, then you're into this remote area where it doesn't get a lot of public pressure because it takes a little bit of effort to get in there. You have this lodge, you've got Stillwater, you got kind of swinging for big bull trout, which again, you don't get bull trout everywhere. And then you got this great lodge, right? The lodge itself, how many people can you guys handle in a week?
Well, when we'll max at 12 guests. We can accommodate, probably, I don't know, there's probably 35 beds here. But when the fly fishing season's here, we like concentrating on just that. So the whole property, I think when we have just a group of guys or whatever, we get them to stay in the lodge. There are 8 rooms in the lodge with every 2 rooms share a bathroom, shower, and they're all private entrance to the rooms, around the exterior of the lodge. And then we have 5 really nice cabins, a couple that are 2-bedroom cabins. And then we also have an 1,800 square foot waterfront home that if we get a family or whatever, a group of 4 guys, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, beautiful place, like 20 feet from the water, overlooking the water. And you can even go in front of the lodge at night and there's fish rising there all the time, and nice fish. And if you wanted to, I think we have 10 or 12 8-foot pontoon boats as well that we do the small lakes with.
Right. So that's it. You got those dialed in. Cool. So you can accommodate plenty of people. If somebody was listening here right now and they maybe aren't going to be able to get to your lodge, but they want to chase bull trout, any words of advice for them as far as, in other areas? I'm not sure where bull trout are spread throughout BC. I'm guessing there's some other areas. Do you think bull trout fishing is unique to your rivers, or do you think you can apply some of the tactics you use to other areas?
Well, I think bull trout, they're just a very aggressive fish. And I think they'll hit streamers anywhere. The spawning time, late September here, they vary at different rivers, but for this watershed, it's late September, and they're a little more stubborn then. But we bother them a little bit, not bother them, but if you bounce that fly off their nose for a while, they just want to get rid of you, but
they'll come too.
Yeah.
They can't help it, right?
They can't help it.
What's your fly of choice? Do you have a fly or two that if we had to say, like, this is the fly we should be tying up for this trip, what would that be for bull trout?
Those a chartreuse, like a bunny leech, that's a great fly. Yeah. And also egg sucking leech. That's probably more middle of the month for the bullies. And rainbows take those as well. But I like the egg sucking leech, about a size 4.
Yeah. Okay. So the egg sucking leech. So in a chartreuse bunny leech, and could you put a little ball of pink or red on the end of that? Would that be a good fly?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha. Perfect. Now I could see this being a cool, we were just up steelhead fishing, up at Steelhead Alley this last week, and we were tying some flies, but I'm sure all that stuff we were tying. We actually, chartreuse and black was a great fly for steelhead this week, so I'm sure that would probably work.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we were... So cool. Well, and then the gear wise, again, these are huge fish. So you're probably just putting on, like, as far as a leader, what does that look like? Is that pretty easy to put together, like length? And are you just doing one set, like 20-pound tippet or something like that?
Yeah. I think that's, like I mentioned, they're not leader shy. These, it's not likely these fish have been caught before. So it's, they're not, you can be standing right in the river there, and they're almost at your feet. If you're not moving around, you'll see the guys right there, like 4 feet away. I was doing a super guiding job on a river once. It's a glacial river, and the family of 4 from Chicago. They've been here almost half a dozen times. And this young lady was, and they were all excellent fishermen. mom and dad and a son and daughter. I think the kids were like 16 and 18. And I'm river's about 80 yards across, really fast flowing, but there's you could see some some pocket water that you could get into, and I'm getting her. I could see she was having a bit of trouble, and I said, just put it out there, and I'm pointing, double haul it, get it out there. And so she's doing that. She picked up a couple little rainbow, and then she pointed down right in front of her with Mr. Super Guide beside her. And she goes, what are these? And there were 4 bull trout, about 24 inches, about 4 feet in front of us. And I just grabbed her by the suspenders, walked her back, put a streamer on, and she caught all 4. And she'd go, got one.
Wow.
It was the coolest thing. But yeah. But I kind of missed the boat there, not seeing these things. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So it's pretty easy to catch these.
Good stuff.
Does it feel like with the bull trout out there that it almost gets too easy? Like you can catch them all day long, or is it, how's that look? Because I know there's some, like with coho sometimes, depending, right? I mean, stripping coho is pretty easy to do. That's something that, is it that simple, or actually is it sometimes hard to catch the bull trout?
No. Well, it's a little tougher than that. Yeah. Every once in a while you get into that, like the 4 that were there, that was just total fluke. But in order you actually go out and you hunt. And that's the cool part about it, is hunting them. We have one stretch of water. There's probably about 10 miles with 0 road access. I mean, you're just on the rocks and work your way up. And this basically never gets fished. I used to, when I was falling trees, I heard the water down there, and I have a spinning outfit. I'm talking, this is 50 years ago. And I'd be over the bank. No one would have a clue where I was. And I would go down this river, and there's so much water that like literally never gets fished. There's no access unless you want to hike. And I'd have, probably a 12, 15 bull trout day, and come out about 5 miles downstream, walk back to my truck, and the good old days.
Yep. And that was fishing spinners, or what was that fishing?
Yeah, that was, with the crocodile. Uh-huh. That was the old spinning outfit.
Yeah, gotcha. When did remind me again, you might have said this at the start, but when did the fly fishing, were you doing that before the lodge, or did that come after?
I wasn't. I had a friend that would come out and visit. He and his family would come out, and we lived right on the river. We had a beautiful home on the river. And I watched him. It had a fishing hole right in front of the house. We call it the honey hole. And I'm watching him with the fly rod, and I'm thinking, that's really cool. And I think I may have tried it on the lawn, and just, that was it. I was too busy to really fish then. And when we bought the lodge, and then got introduced to Jim Cannon, and Jim Cannon came up, and I took him to my special river, and we're wading knee deep, and I'm behind him, and it's kind of slow. This would have been in September, October even. And I apologized for the fish to Jim. And I mean, he caught maybe 3 or 4 in about 15 minutes, and I thought that was slow. And Jim looked at me, and I'll never forget it. He looked over his shoulder at me. I was behind him with a lead. Water like this doesn't need fish. And he meant it. I mean, it was just, he said, you have no idea what you have here. And then that sunk in.
Yeah. What are the, so is it forested? Is the whole area around you, is it just giant conifer trees, or what does that look like?
Yeah, giant fir and cedar. And the further up the lake you go, it's more cedar, hemlock, and big fir, but like 6-foot diameter cedar, that type thing.
Oh, wow,
So
6 foot.
old growth.
What was the company, or were you working for a company back then when you were doing the logging, or were you on your own?
No, it was for a company, and then we went on our own. We had built, my partner and I built a cedar mill because they weren't utilizing the cedar here at that time, and so we had some friends in the Forest Service because they were just mowing it down and burning it, and so we latched onto that, and we did that for about 10 years as well.
Why were they mowing it down and burning it?
Because there were it would come off their quota, and these mills here, the larger mills, had quotas, and at that time, the lumber mills that were cutting the softwoods, the spruce, pine, fir, you couldn't really handle the cedar bark and the mess it makes, and how it's just there are production mills. So we built a small mill, and I think we had at one time about 50 employees.
Oh, wow. That's, quite a few people.
Yeah. Lots of people, and it was all community. And yeah, we had a really good crew.
Huh. When did you transfer over from, when did you get out of the logging? Was it after you purchased the lodge?
Yeah, but stayed in it a little bit, and because we logged for years, I'd get calls.
Oh, right.
For logging contracts, that type of thing, and so I did take one on up around Fort St. James, and we were again, we got up to just our logging output. We had about a 50-man crew up there. We're logging. It was when the beetle kill was really heavy up there.
Yeah. And
we were doing, I think, around 60 loads a day, and with bunchers, whatever. But it was a nice pine, but it was all attacked. It was hit so hard.
Yeah.
So it was get it while before it goes bad. You have about a 3-year window before it's not, you can't utilize it.
Yeah, you can't use it at all. What's the are there still some old growth trees around your area out there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of old growth here, yes. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm always interested in just, because we have forests down here as well. What's kept the, from all that old growth being cut, if it's just there's so much of it, or, because we have some areas down here where there's not even, there's not really any old, it's all been cut, right? There's nothing left.
Well, when this lake was legislated as a wilderness lake, they did hold back, and I would say about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, maybe, they legislated another law that there's no clear cuts to be visible from the lake. So, all the wood along the lake is old growth.
Gotcha.
Which is really cool to have that preserved. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lake buffer. So if you go outside in some of these areas outside of that area of visibility, you might see some clear cuts or whatever out there.
Yeah. On the roads. Yeah. On the logging roads. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. No, I'm just trying to paint the picture, trying to get a better feel, because we did see some of those fire torn areas up there this year, and it was,
devastating.
It was pretty amazing to see. Yeah. I mean, huge, I saw lots of lakes that were just, there were no logs left, all burnt. It's pretty cool. You guys made it out. Well, Skeed, we're definitely, as always here, there's always more to talk about, but, I wanted to respect your time here. Before we start to think about taking it out of here, anything else you want to give a highlight on what you have going? I think we painted a pretty cool picture. It sounds like, you're in one of those, places that probably everybody wants to get to. Anything else we want to touch on today before we head out of here?
No, just what day I expect you to arrive.
Oh, See, now I like how you're talking. See, you're already, you had me at, when the Stillwater, when the Stillwater thing came in, I was like, all right, this is too good to be true, like I said. But the bull trout is amazing because, it's hard to find bull trout in a lot of places around, the country, whether that probably, I'm not even sure in BC, you probably have a lot more. But not only that, you got lake trout, you got this big lake, you got all these 40 other lakes, and a cool lodge in the middle. So I'm sure there's going to be some people listening that are going to be hitting you up as well.
Oh, that sounds good.
So, but yeah, let's keep in touch on that, and we'll follow up with you too. If we have more questions, I'm sure we'll get some people asking about it. I'll pick your brain. We might even, be able to bring one of your guides on if we want to dig more into specifically questions focused on, but it sounds like, I guess looking at this, it's not all that difficult. Somebody coming up here, if they brought up a dry line for their rod, would they be good to go up there for the most part?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you don't even have to go, if we're not on the lakes, but a sink tip, just a sink tip and put her on a dry line, and you can tackle anything on the rivers.
Perfect. All right, Skeed, we'll send everybody out to, that's the Northern Lights Lodge. That's nllodge.com. And if anybody has questions and, and again, like you mentioned, there's a few people, even the Blue Quill Angler, I'm sure they could call Pat and pick his brain as well. Pat's probably, what's his deal? Does he get dialed up? I'm sure he's probably all focused. Is he on the dry flies? Is that what gets him fired up out there?
Oh, all of the above.
Yeah,
all of the above. He's been here on the September trips, and he's caught some really nice bullies.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'll send you. If you're just coming across that, I'll send you a picture of Pat with a nice bull.
Oh, that'd be sweet. Yeah, do that. We'll hook up. I'll have my editor get some stuff as we get this going. This will probably go live in January sometime, and yeah, we've got a pretty decent size listenership on the show. So I think definitely you're gonna hear from some people. But let's leave it there for now, and I'll just check back with you. And like I said, this episode will go out probably in about 30 days or so, and we'll keep you in the loop on that one as well.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, bud.
So there you are, all set for a trip up to Northern Canada, setting the landing strip for you, getting it ready to roll. Time to head up there and give Skeed and the crew a heads up. If you want to get all the show notes from this episode, wetflyswing.com/397. 397 is where you can get all the information. We are getting closer to that 400. I want to give a quick listener shout out. Jeff Krajewski was the winner of the Zag.Fish giveaway we had going. Jeff is going to be getting a $100 gift certificate from Zag to get any of their fly tying materials, any of the brushes, any of the fur they have going, all the fly fur. They got all sorts of cool products we've been talking about here. So Jeff, congrats. And you are also going to be getting a guide trip out to your home state of Connecticut. So stay tuned to that. And I think we're even going to get you on this podcast. So this is exciting. Stay tuned on these giveaways. We're doing these all the time. wetflyswing.com/giveaway. And you can check out one right now. I think we actually have a new one that's just launched this week. And you can get a chance, I think, to win a fly rod and some other goodies. So check it out right now. We got them going on all year long. Like we said, we're going to be doubling down on some of our schools, on some of the products, and some of the conservation groups. This is all about supporting you as an angler and supporting our conservation groups to help keep things going strong out there. So I appreciate your support for all this, and excited to stay in touch with you. Like I said, episode 397 is where this one's at, and we are getting closer to 400. It's amazing to think 400 episodes is a lot, and we've got a good surprise for you on 400, a pretty powerful episode that we're going to be digging into, and I'm excited to share that one as well. Would love to catch with you online or on the water right now. You can send me a message, dave@wetflyswing.com, if you have an idea for an episode, or like Dave Snyder, he just sent me a message directly. A DM would be great on Instagram, anywhere out there. You can get a hold of me. Just ping me and say, hey, I would love to get this episode, this topic, and I will hook it up for you. And I will likely give you a shout out on upcoming episodes, just like we did for Dave here today. So I appreciate that. And I would love love to see you on the water. If you get a chance, we're definitely putting together these trips around the country. If you have an idea for a trip you'd like us to put together, I would love to do that. We've got our schools. You can check them out anytime. And we're just doubling down on this. We're kind of taking it to the next step. The podcast, obviously, we've been doing this for a while. And the next step, we're going to be doubling down on the podcast is some of these trips. So I'm going to get out of here. I hope you are having a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. And I appreciate you and appreciate you supporting us and the community. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.